Welcome to Wind Power Project Management Podcast. My name is Emanuel. I'm your host today. I have a bachelor in mechanical engineering, and I'm doing the 2-year master. And today's topic is solar power, and we are happy to have Jon Malmesten here today. Can you tell a little bit about what you're working with now at the Logi Center?
Yeah, right now I work for this real estate investor that is called Logi Center. So we invest in logistic assets. So we have buildings mostly in the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark. And my role is I'm responsible for the solar investments that we can do on the rooftops of our buildings.
Mm. And you have studied here before, and how did you end up in the solar industry?
Yeah, I studied here first year. We had this master on the island, which was 2010 to 11. And when I was done, it wasn't that easy to get a job within wind power. So then I slided into solar power instead. And I think it suited me quite well because the projects are much smaller. So you can go from an idea to a finished project within months or a little if there is a small project. For the larger project, it will take a bit longer time, of course. And so I think that's the reason. And it's also interesting because you work with architects and those types of aspects are more important when it comes to solar than wind power, maybe.
Yeah. So you talked about scaling, and you mentioned some examples in Germany with the people placing in the balcony. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I've just heard about it actually. Those balcony eller balkongkraftverk or kraftverken, or I don't know how it's explained or pronounced in German, but
yeah.
But then it's private households that also in apartments, which otherwise is quite hard for a private person to invest in solar power if you live in an apartment. But then you can buy this solar panel that you basically attach to the balcony, and then you just plug it in to the outlet in the apartment. You don't need an electrician to do it. So it's very easy to get there. And the power of one is not that impressive, but since they have more than 1 million now, suddenly we're getting close to one nuclear plant in production from those. So it makes quite a huge difference after a while when you get a volume. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting to see the scale up and each contribute, and together it gains a lot. So, and do you see some other benefits with solar power to how we can use it compared to other energy sources?
Yeah, I think one obvious benefit is that you can produce it where the electricity is used. So you can put it on the building, and on the building, in a way, you have the foundation. You have already used the land, and you also have the grid connection and the consumption. So it really makes sense to have a production there as well if you can do it efficiently. So solar is good in that way that you can put the production units where the consumption are or is, and then it's also good because you can let almost everyone invest in it. So also private households can make an investment because you can scale it down to small units.
Yeah, and you're working with, can you explain a little bit more? You talked about the some companies you have placed on cooling, where you have cooling systems in the building, and it's during the day it's very beneficial. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of different warehouses, and some is just a warehouse where you store. I mean, if we have Dustin as a customer, so that's electronic, which is stored on shelf. And in that case, the building doesn't use a lot of electricity. But on the other end of the scale, we have cold storages where you have groceries, and then you could have cold, and I think you have what is it called, freezing storage or something. So the cold one is maybe a couple of degrees warm, but the really cold is maybe minus 18 degrees, and then you use a lot of electricity to cool it down. It's like a big fridge actually. So in those cases where we have cold storages, it's really good to put solar panels on the roof, because you can use all the electricity just to cooling the building. And the more the sun is shining, the more energy we will need to cool the building. So it goes well with solar.
Oh, yeah.
And the cooling need is of course smaller on the winter when the solar production is lower. So that's a really good match that we have on some of our buildings.
Connected to that, you mentioned also if you combine wind and solar during, if you look at the year.
If you put them together, you can see that you have a lot of solar in the summer, and of course you have solar in the spring and in the fall as well. But if you look at the curve for wind power, it's the opposite. You have a lot of wind power in the winter. So when the solar is going down in the fall, then the wind is picking up. So if you combine those sources, you will get almost a flat curve looking monthly. But then, of course, within a month or within a day, you can have a big variation still.
Yeah.
But on a monthly scale, it's a very good complement. So then you just have to, if you make it thought simple, you just have to solve what's happening within the month or within the weeks in terms of energy storage, maybe.
If we look at, you've been in the solar industry for a long time, and have you seen, is it a big difference from when you started working?
I mean, when I started, it was not a big industry. Often real estate companies, they was building their first installation on the headquarter of solar panels. But I started 2013, but I think already 14, 15, I started to work with some the real estate companies like Akademiska Hus and Lokum that has all the hospitals in Stockholm, and starting to make a pre-study to look at all the buildings. Where can we install? Is the economy installing? So we started to make the plans there. And then the rollout, it started a bit later, 2015, 16, it started to roll out. So, but from that on, it has just accelerated. The panels are becoming cheaper and also more efficient. So the installations are growing in scale.
Mm.
And
So if you look at the trends for the future, do you see some trends or maybe some gap or something that you see that this should be looked into, or is it more about scaling up and build, have the technology, or you see something coming?
Yeah, I don't think I will see those big steps being taken, but we have a scale up that is exponential now, and I think that will continue. Of course, what is happening is that we are starting to invest in solar parks, because that wasn't profitable before. That has just become profitable, so there is an acceleration in that market. And of course, that is also dependent on where the electricity price is going now. The electricity price was really high when the Ukrainian war started, and the gas price was in Europe. But now the prices are dropping again, and then and also the interests are up. So then investments in solar parks, it's a bit more challenging. I don't work with parks, but that's the case. But I think that will continue, and especially when this kind of electrification of the society starts to happen, so the electricity prices will probably go up a bit again, and then the demand will for solar parks, I think, will accelerate.
And also you've been working with the infrastructure for electric cars. Can you tell a little bit about that project? You had a project here in Gotland. And
yeah, we had a project that it started, and I think you dropped your microphone there. It started 2014 and lasted for 2 years. So that was pretty early, actually. So the cars we had back then could only go 150 kilometers. And we rented them out to tourists, and we built charging station all over the island. The thinking was that Gotland is a perfect place to introduce the electric car to tourists, because the sunny, they have the nice experience of vacation, and they drive silently with the electric cars and go to different, event places where we put the chargers. So that it was actually really successful, that project. But nowadays, the chargers are still here. We have some fast chargers that we install in the north and the south. Are still in operations, but to do this project today would have been simple, because now you have the cars. We didn't have the cars with the range back then, but now they exist. So for tourists, this is no big deal to have an electric car now.
Yeah,
I think the challenge is more for the rental company to be able to charge them overnight, so they can rent them out fully charged. And if they are returned in the morning, then you need a fast charger to be able to recharge and to rent them out again the same day.
Yeah.
So I think that's more where the challenge is today.
Okay, and if we because you have studied here, and what do you take with you from when you were in the academic work? What did you bring when entering the company market?
If you study, especially when you study, I was studying 2010-11, but already then it was this kind of studies that you have to do a lot of assignments, group works, and I think that matches quite well if you work as a consultant, which I did for many years, that you have to focus on delivering results. And of course, I also got a lot of the understanding for the energy market and how it all works, even though I was studying wind power back then. How is the balancing? Where could solar fit in? Where does nuclear, hydro, how does everything fit in? I think you get that understanding when you study it. So that's something I brought from here, for sure.
And what keeps you, what drives you to work forward with this?
But it's still a lot of things happening, and I think working with solar, you can still make a difference and be part of the transition. And now we can say I'm also working with charging infrastructure and batteries, and I think that's the next step for the logistics, that we probably will have electric trucks starting to distribute the goods, and then you have to charge somewhere, and probably you will charge at the logistic hubs. So I think the logistic hubs will play a role in the transition. So you need to have electric production in terms of solar, maybe also hydrogen in the future if the trucks going those long distances are going on hydrogen instead of electric trucks. And then we probably need batteries to balance everything and reduce the stress on the grids. I think it's still a lot of things to do, and it's still fun. It feels you can make kind of a difference working with energy.
Yeah, as a final question, do you have any advice for a student and going into this energy market and industry?
I think you have picked the right market if you like energy, of course, but it will be a lot of things to do within this market. And studying wind power is very relevant. I think it's good to also broaden the perspective, look at solar, batteries, because it all fits together in a way. So the future electric market will probably be a combination of many different sources, where wind power will be one of them. So I think the recommendation is just to keep up the good work, and you're on the right market probably if you like what you're doing. So
Okay.
good luck.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a great pleasure having you here, and interesting topic. So, and I would like to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone who has listened to this podcast today. And thank you.